Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited for what we have to offer today. Oh, my goodness. We have Dr. Achina Stein and Sylvia Covelli from the Depression Project, which is super exciting. We're going to try to get as many questions from everybody in the hour that we have. Dr. Achina is graciously taken out time between her patients. Hello. Where's everybody calling in from? You can
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Fantastic. You can type it in the chat box, say hello.
Yeah.
So, Sylvia, I still can't see you yet. Looking forward to there you are.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. There's the Healing Depression Project behind her. So we're going to try to get as many questions in. What we'd like to do first is just bring your awareness to the Depression Project. It's a 45-day inpatient program that Dr. Achina and Sylvia have created. So Dr. Achina is a functional medicine psychiatrist and the clinical director of the Healing Depression Project. It is a 45-day holistic program that helps people overcome long-standing depression. Huge problem for lots of people. She's also the host of the popular podcast, What If It's Not Depression? Sylvia is the founder and director of the Healing Depression Project. She is a former Harvard researcher and entrepreneur who overcame 25 years of treatment-resistant depression and after more than 60 unsuccessful therapies. Wow. And for those of you who already know me, I'm Dr. Tara Perry. I have 25 years in helping people resolve some of their most difficult challenges. I specialize in helping people get to the root of their biggest problem in their subconscious mind, allowing for rapid physical, mental, and emotional relief. So we're just going to go around to the three of us to start out with. Dr. Achina, do you want to tell us for a few minutes what the core of this is and why you got involved?
Sure. Yes. Well, the core of this is finding root causes of depression. So many people have what's called treatment-resistant depression, but what treatment is that? That treatment is medications. In general. So a person can take 2 rounds of medications and not respond completely to them, and then be given this diagnosis of treatment-resistant depression. And, the big message is that there are other ways of addressing depression. And so there's a lot of concepts that we can talk about. What is depression really? It's not just a brain issue. It's a body issue. That's one big thing that we can talk about. And there's many, many, many root causes. And I think the important thing is to look at all of the possible root causes. In short, it's foods, infections, toxins, stress, all of which that affect your hormones, cortisol being one of them, your stress hormones, and that in turn affects your sex hormones. So that's it in a nugget right now, but we'll get into that on a deeper level as we talk on this podcast. And thank you for having us, Tara. Really appreciate you hosting us today.
I'm thrilled to have you here. We had 100 people sign up for this. So the people that can't join us live will be getting the recording, and then we'll be putting this out on our podcast, Next Level Healing. And you can learn so much more on Dr. Stein's podcast, What If It's Not Depression? So I first got into this arena because for 23 years, I did acupuncture and nutritional medicine. And like Dr. Achina said, there's a huge connection between the gut and nutrition, and the energy flows through the body, which can include exercise and a lot of other daily habits and routines. And what was amazing to me is that whatever trauma we go through, and the more trauma we have as an early person, the more likely we are to have depression and other problems, and that's been proven in multiple studies. And trauma can be a big T trauma or a little T trauma. Sometimes it's really shocking how silly little things that go on. And I've seen this over and over again. It's a big trauma to a little child. And when that little person fires and wires the neurological pathways that say, I'm not enough, I'm not okay, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, other people get relief, I don't. Whatever the story is, once that gets cemented in there, if it keeps firing and wiring, then that pattern just goes with them throughout lifetime. And to rewire that, which can happen very, very quickly when one is able to go into the subconscious mind and rewire the pattern. And I've seen people get over chronic debilitating anxiety and PTSD and choking disorders and autoimmune issues, teeth grinding. It's just really remarkable what can happen by rewiring the subconscious mind. So that's me in a nutshell. And you can go on Next Level Healing and learn more about that. Sylvia, would you give us the background that you had, why you created this, what the pillars are, and the success rate? And then we're going to open it up to questions because we really want to give access to everybody that wants relief for these issues.
Okay. Thank you, Tara. So I guess the main thing that I want to say is I went through 25 years of severe depression. I tried so many different approaches. And the thing that I was not doing is addressing the root causes, the physical root causes, as Dr. Stein was talking about, and also the emotional and mindset root causes. So normally I was working just on one aspect or I was working on the other. So if I was feeling better in my body, let's say I was, treatment was going well and I was regaining like physical energy, then my mindset or my past trauma or emotions will derail that process that I was making. And the opposite was true. Sometimes I will just focus on the therapeutic piece, on just, going through therapy, doing the trauma work. But that it doesn't matter how much of that I did. I had like some physical issues that needed to be addressed. If you have like inflammation or poor gut health or other things that are holding you back, then the real healing doesn't happen. And that's why, at least in my case, depression always kept coming back. And there were times I was feeling better. And then the symptoms, all of a sudden, they will just...
Hey guys, studies are showing that 68% of people that watch podcasts regularly don't click the subscribe button. Do me a huge favor. If you like this content, click subscribe so other people know where to go for the cool stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, come back into my life. And I didn't know like how to get out of this. So that's basically what the program does. The program acknowledges that the root causes are more than one, that there's physical root causes, that there are mindset causes, that there are trauma root causes, and even spiritual root causes. So, and we see that in our participants that we start first with the physical root causes and metabolic disorders that we all have to a degree based on, the diet that most of us are having. And then the person starts to feel better. But once in the middle, when it comes the deep work with trauma work, then we really see the person like lifting as a whole. And that gives you really a good chance for having that recovery to be sustainable. And that's what the program does. Because like in my case, I would get better, but it was never for a long term. Excuse me. It will, as I said before, I will get sick again. So what we're trying to do is exactly that, addressing those root causes. And at the same time, it's a training to help you build those healthy habits that we all know are good for us, but that due to depression symptoms, we're not able to practice them on a consistent way. So we work on those habits that include like walking in the mornings, that include meditation, hydration, the restoration of the sleep cycle, a lot of things that we know are good, but that, so during the 30 days, it's 30 days in a retreat. There's like the clinical team is there. And then during those 30 days is where the habits start to form. And then we have a 15-day phase at home to help you really integrate this into your day-to-day life, because otherwise, without that integration, healing won't stay for a long time. So, and I, the idea of coming up with the program was based on my own experience, 25 years of frustration from doctor to doctor, from treatment to treatment, even residential care. I went to more than 10 programs. I was really decided to feel better, but it will be, I will feel better and then I will go back into the cycle. So this approach of addressing the root causes We do over 120 different biomarkers regarding lab tests and specialized tests. So that's really, really helpful. Together with the diet, we do a ketogenic diet, and especially designed for brain health. And that also like transforms completely the way your cells are working. So
Beautiful. Sylvia, do you want to mention the success that you had when you had people go through the program?
Yes, thank you. So it's in psychiatry, it's rarely seen these results, but we got, according to the Hamilton Depression Scale, 80% of people reach remission, which means no symptoms or low level of symptoms. And that's fantastic. And most of them has sustained the progress, especially those 100% of the people that continue with the diet and habits at home are still in that low levels or remission. So that is extremely hopeful. And probably that will be my main message to everybody in the audience, that there's hope, that it doesn't matter for how long you've been struggling, you can get out of there. You can have a life without depression symptoms.
Absolutely. That's so great. Yeah, and I've seen that many times too. People who've been in standard therapy for decades and and therapy can be wonderful. And if it's wonderful for you, great. But if you're not getting the solutions that you want, there are other wonderful solutions that are likely out there for you. Who's got questions for Dr. Achina, myself, Sylvia? Who would like to ask a question?
Greg?
Greg, are you?
Hey, Tara. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Tara, we never discussed this. This will be something that'll be part of my sleep deal with you. But what is it as far as seasonal depression goes, compared to something that a person experiences all year round, where symptoms occur, mostly during the winter months, that kind of a thing? If someone has more of a seasonal affective kind of a depression, how is that addressed compared to somebody that is going through a constant, year-long, kind of a thing?
Right. Generally, I can answer that. Generally, seasonal depression has to do with the circadian rhythm. A lot of times it's related to not having enough vitamin D, as in dog, vitamin D on board. So it's really helpful to get a vitamin D level. And we like to see, from a functional medicine standpoint, we like to see the vitamin D to be between 60 and 80. A lot of conventional doctors will do a vitamin D level and say, oh, it's normal, but it's 20. So the cutoff on some labs is 20. The cutoff on some labs is 15. But in general, it really should be between 60 and 80. And if you have an autoimmune disease, it should be between 80 and 100. And there's a lot of research out of Israel, actually, that demonstrates the need for autoimmunity. So so getting your circadian rhythm, in order, and there's different ways of addressing that, just specifically the circadian rhythm. And it has to do with your light exposure. So using light therapy, getting there's different brands of light boxes that you can get specifically for seasonal affective disorder.
Beautiful. What about Andrew Huberman seems to be a big fan of getting out and just getting some sunlight in the morning. So if it's not inclement weather, even in the winter months, is it good to get out and just get that natural sunlight going into the eyeballs?
Absolutely. Yes, you want to have that sunlight. Definitely. It sets the biological clock, basically. So getting out first light is really, really important. Yeah.
And research also shows that even if it's very clouded, the effect still is good, but there's a minimum of 20 minutes if the weather is cloudy. So if you do 20 minutes and don't use sunglasses or a hat, that way you allow the light to come through your eyes and really enter to your brain.
Back when she was with Turning
So we got somebody that's got some background noise. Where's that? Who is that? Please mute yourself if you've got background noise. Thank you so much. Great tips there. Thank you so much. Achina, do you have any brands that you recommend? Because there's so many light box choices out there.
There's Northern Lights, I think is one of them. I think someone still has a radio on playing in the background.
Trying to find it.
Yeah.
Northern Lights, any others?
I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know if I saw the name, I would be able to say what they are.
Okay.
Northern Light Technologies is one of them. Let me see. Not anything else is coming up right off the top here that I'm recognizing.
Is that one that can go actually right on the face? Because I've heard that it can actually be helpful for the eyes too, and I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, that would be red light therapy, I think. Those the ones that you're talking about on the face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, which is a little bit different. So the face red light therapy is like Omnilux. It's an LED red light therapy device.
Beautiful. So who else has got a question? There we go, Darlene.
I had to figure out how to get out of mute. Your program. So I have a son who has suffered with many symptoms. He has depression on and off. And because he did a lot of drug use and alcohol use, he's also has the symptoms of bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. But we're not sure if that's really what it is, to your point. And I'm trying to understand with this program, if he would come into your facility, are you able to help with all, or is it strictly depression? Like Sylvia, he's been in and out of hospitals. Thank goodness he's been clean for the last 3.5 years. But I'm just curious how your program would work, or if it's depression focused only.
That's a great question, Darlene. So it depends on what are the prominent symptoms and how well he's functioning. So, when it comes to functional medicine, these are lifestyle and dietary changes. So you have to be able to, do the things that we talk about, the movement, the meditation, the breath work, the yoga, all of the things that are laid out on a daily basis. And so if he does have psychosis and it's kind of in the background and it's not directing how to do things or not to do things, right? Or and certainly we've had patients in the program, at least one that I can recall, maybe two, like a bipolar 2. We had a bipolar 1 and maybe one that was bipolar 2, that were in our program, but they weren't manic or hypomanic. And so it was the most prominent symptoms are depression. And then if you have the other symptoms in the background and not prominent, then it should be fine.
Yeah.
The ketogenic
that's wonderful.
Yeah, the ketogenic diet is excellent for treatment-resistant depression, but there have been cases where it has helped with the mood instability. Even bipolar 1, we have to be more careful about that in particular. But as long as the psychosis is like in the background, it should be fine. And we use a therapeutic ketogenic diet. It's not just so sometimes when people hear that, they think, oh my gosh, that's so unhealthy. That is not true. It's about the macros and the choices in the macros. So it's less than 20 milligrams of carbs. It's a moderate amount of protein, and it's a higher fat, but these are all healthy carbs, healthy protein, and healthy fats. And we have found that people respond pretty quickly, especially with the supports during the program. It's really, really All the meals are made. People really, they don't have to do anything other than just to eat the meals and understand what it's doing. And then we have the keto mojo meters that we use to follow the ketone levels. So ketones are the fuel that's utilized by the brain. It gets past the blood-brain barrier as opposed to glucose. And we're basically making people's brains into a hybrid engine. We're taking ketones and glucose, but primarily ketones. And that's what really causes the energy to skyrocket, the mood to improve. And people have other side benefits of losing weight and sleeping better. Everything happen, and it happens pretty quickly. I mean, I have to say myself that I was pretty floored by the results that we got from our first cohort. And, that's amazing results of 8 out of 10 people having complete remission of treatment-resistant depression. And these patients were aged 26 to 62, and 1 male, 9 females, and we had a significant drop in the scores, Hamilton D scores, depression scores, of 8 out of 10, and feeling great after 4 weeks. Really, just 4 weeks. It's pretty amazing. And so when you have that kind of support and you're learning how to make these meals on site as well, so that when you go home, you have a really good idea of how to move forward. And we work on that for the next 2 weeks. Certainly the last week, we prepare the person to be able to transition smoothly. And then they have daily follow-up for the last 2 weeks, which is, so it's 4 weeks on site and then 2 weeks at home, but online support every single day for 2 weeks. So the transition worked pretty well. And also preparing for that transition is looking at all the possible barriers that could get in the way of you being able to continue the habits that you formed in those 4 weeks.
How beautiful that
It's very, very helpful. I'm sorry, Dr. Tara, go ahead.
No. How beautiful that you teach them how to do it, because one of the huge barriers is if it's all done for you, you get home and you just go back to your old ways.
Right. That's what generally happens in other programs. There usually isn't that kind of support. But we found it it's certainly necessary and important. And it was a big part of the program, is to be able to transition back and be able to continue the habits that were.
Where geographically is the program located?
It's in Lago Vista, Texas. It's right outside, about 40 minutes outside of Austin, Texas.
Very good. And what kind of application process do you have? If somebody were curious, where would they go to get more information? How would they interact with you so they could see if they were a good fit?
So they can go to our website, is healingdepressionproject.com. There is very easy to book a call. That's the first step. Invitation, application is by invitation. So the first thing is to book this call. It's short, it's informational, is just to see if the program is a good fit for the person, and if the person is a good fit for the program. And then if that happens, then we send an invitation via email to apply. And then the person applies. In that application, they can apply for scholarships as well. We have very generous scholarships that can cover even like up to 70% of the program cost. So in that same application, they apply for a scholarship, and then the committee meets, review the application, and we tell them if admission is possible, and then if a scholarship was able to be granted. This is a very small group. We only run it with 10 people. So, at the moment, we're reviewing applications for March, and we're going to be done with that at the end of December. So this is an ideal time to reach out.
Beautiful. I have a question. When I was, I heard from several patients over the years that just by adding good omega-3 oils into their diet, for some people, that was just a complete turnaround. Have you noticed that, Dr. Achina?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, I usually see that most people that I see in my practice and as well as in the Healing Depression Project are omega-3 deficient. We do actually test for omega-3 and omega-6 ratios, but I don't even need to do that test to know that just every single person is already deficient. And the ones that aren't deficient have already been taking omega-3s, so the best, obviously the best way to get omega-3s into your diet is through food. And, generally fish is pretty high in omega-3s. You do want to include fish in your diet at least one to two times a week. The fastest way to get omega-3s is, in my opinion, sardines, but not everybody likes sardines. And if you've tried sardines, I think it's important to know that the source matters a lot. There's some really bad cans of sardines, and then there's some really delicious cans of sardines. So brand really makes a difference. And I suggest that, and that's also such an easy meal. You just open the can and you dump it on a bed of salad, and it's such a quick, easy meal. It's so convenient, and it's full of omega-3s. And the good thing about this type of fish is it's a small fish and it doesn't accumulate mercury. The thing about salmon that a lot of people eat, which is delicious, the salmon and tuna, is that they have mercury in them. And so the smaller fishes are ideal to eat. And it's not just, sardines. There's herring, there's smaller fishes like mackerel, or, so it's trying to stick to the smaller types of fish. And there's other sources if you're not a fish eater, flaxseed and chia seeds, nuts and seeds. So there's definitely other sources if you're not a meat eater. Also, a lot of people don't realize is that grass-fed beef actually is higher in omega-3s compared to the store-bought beef, the CAFO beef, which is much higher in omega-6s, which is why the CAFO beef is associated with being unhealthy. It's an unhealthy beef is supposedly unhealthy. It's because, again, what are those cows fed? So grass-fed beef is much, much healthier, much higher in omega-3s. And a lot of people don't realize that. It's how are these animals treated and where is the source? The sourcing makes a big, big difference.
100%. Yeah, a lot of people are learning that farm-raised salmon is actually gray in color and they dye it, and it's actually written right on the package. So,
I know.
And you had mentioned that having mercury in it. I thought wild salmon was one of the lower sources of mercury in fish. Is that true or not?
It is lower, but not. It's still. I mean, our waterways are pretty contaminated.
Yeah.
So, the other ways that people are deficient in nutrients is magnesium. Magnesium is extremely important, and zinc. People are so just across the board. And obviously, I don't recommend that people just go and get all of this, get tested. But I do see across the board, especially in the depression population, that people are deficient in vitamin B6, B12, folate. And if you have low energy, it would be riboflavin and thiamine. These are all B vitamins. So taking a good B complex is really helpful. People are usually deficient in magnesium and zinc, like I mentioned, and omega-3s, vitamin D, vitamin A, and sometimes even vitamin E. And if you see that you are deficient in these fat-soluble vitamins, which is A, D, E, and K, then what you'll want to think about is digestion. Because if you're having difficulty, let's say those vitamins, that group of vitamins are low, but some of the other vitamins, like the B vitamins, are fine, maybe not deficient, but insufficient or fine, then you'll want to think about why. And so fat-soluble vitamins require bile to be able to assimilate these vitamins in. So you might have, if you're missing a gallbladder, or if you have problems with digesting fats, because let's say you had a meal with fat and you just felt like yucky, after eating a meal, or you even had gallbladder type pains, then you'll want to look at whether or not you're making enough acid, if you're even salivating. So going back to your population of people who have had trauma, right? If you're stuck in fight flight, then you're not going to be able to digest, because you have to be in parasympathetic mode, the rest, digest, and heal mode in order to release these digestive juices, in order to be able to extract and assimilate those vitamins. And so it's looking at all the vitamin deficiencies and seeing like what's really, really low. And then, what I usually do is fix the digestion. I help people understand whether or not they're making enough acid at the right times, and whether or not that you need acid to release bile. And, and you need to be in a relaxed state when you're eating your food, right? So all of these things really matter. And those are the first things that I address in my practice, but also in the Healing Depression program. We look at that very first week.
Yeah, we're definitely in sync on that. I've found that just by dialing back that sympathetic state into the parasympathetic state, because if you're in sympathetic, your immune system's not functioning, your digestive system's not functioning, your hormonal system's not functioning. And simply by dialing that back, so many problems can go away, because the body's now getting the signals that it's time to heal.
Right.
And that is exactly one of the things that happen at the program, because in my case, I tried for so many years to get better, but it was always like on the side. When I was done with the work, when I was done with my child, when I was done with taking care of everything else, then I had like these 20 minutes of, okay, what is it that I have to do? So I have to, and there was this big list of things that I didn't get to do. So 1 second, please. Okay, sorry about that. And then when things finally changed for me is when I stopped. I actually did it in my day-to-day life, but what I did is I stopped my work. I got like 30 days just for myself, where I fully concentrated on all the treatments and on doing them all together and on practicing them in a constant way regarding the habits. And that was kind of the inspiration also for the program, because a lot of people ask if we can do like, outpatient, or if we can do it online. And it won't help with regulating the nervous system that way, because when you enter this healing environment, and there's also the meditation, the sound healing practices, the psychodrama group therapy, and somatic work, then that allows, for the healing of the entire being, for the person to happen. So that's also one of the main benefits of being in this like residential retreat style setting, that goes together with what you two were talking about.
Beautiful. Does anybody else have any other questions they'd like to ask while we have Achina and Sylvia here with us? This is an amazing project you guys have taken on. I'm really excited to see how it goes for the next cohort.
Yes, it is pretty intensive 4 weeks. The first week we do initial assessments. Even prior to the program, we'll send out a 40-page intake and have all the testing done, so that by the time of the first week arrives, we'll be reviewing all of that testing and creating a plan in a 2-part stage. The first plan is just what is going to be done over the first 4 weeks. And then at the end of the program, a second plan is given to address all the other issues that haven't been necessarily addressed in the first 4 weeks, which is the functional medicine, looking at all the root causes that we found and addressing those. So yeah, the first 4 weeks are really concentrating on all the habits and getting them, in line essentially, and the diet piece. And then after that, once they leave the program, there'll be a plan to address any gut infections. So chronic infections are a major root cause, whether they be bacterial or viral or parasites even. So, and these are generally a burden that can burden your gut from functioning. 80% of your serotonin and other neurotransmitters are made in the gut. And so if all the parts of how the gut functions don't work in a fluid way, that can result and manifest into symptoms. And so if the gut's not working, the brain's not going to work either because of the gut brain connection. So it's really important to get the gut, fixed in terms of being able to digest the nutrients and assimilate them, but also to provide the nutrients through food to the microbiome. It's the microbiome that actually manufactures the neurotransmitters, right? And then it's the gut, it's the vagus nerve that connects the gut to the brain. And when we get all that circuitry connected and moving fluidly, then the depression and other symptoms go away.
And are gut parasites one of the things that you test for? Because they can be culprits in a lot of problems.
Absolutely.
And then
Yes.
do you tend to use herbal antiparasitics or pharmaceutical?
Well, we tend to use all herbs for all the gut issues that people can have. Occasionally, if someone has already been through sort of down that road before and they hadn't responded, then we might need to use medications. A lot of times when people have had these issues addressed in the past and hadn't had good results, it's usually with antibiotics. And we don't want to use antibiotics because it kind of just kills everything in your gut, and we want to preserve the good bacteria, not kill everything. We want to preserve the good bacteria. And the best way to do that is really through herbs. And the herbs really change the terrain of the gut. It doesn't kill everything. It's sort of like changing the terrain of your garden plot, right? If you want to get rid of weeds, what you do is you put nutrients in the soil and you turn the soil and you till the soil and add all these nutrients and good compost, and that discourages weeds from coming back and growing, even though the seeds are there. So it's the same thing with the gut microbiome. We want to discourage the bad bacteria from taking over, and we want to encourage and feed the good microbiome, and it sort of squeezes out the bad guys.
That's a brilliant analogy. I love that.
Yeah, so that's really the goal. And the only way to do that is really with herbs. And herbs actually address multiple things. It supports the immune system. It heals on multiple levels, whereas antibiotics just kill. So, we try very hard to use herbs, and you have to take more of them and more throughout the day and longer. But again, it's just like, as seasons pass, when you have a garden, that soil, that terrain gets better and better and better because of nurturing it and giving it a lot of love. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to just spray all these pesticides on the garden, because then it just destroys the microbiome. It destroys everything, not just, it doesn't really put it into a healing down, help the body heal down the road.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So one thing I found to be wonderfully responsive for going into the subconscious mind and doing some rewiring is people get better sleep. How many people suffering from depression do you find have very disrupted sleep?
Oh, practically everybody. I mean, you can have insomnia, chronic insomnia, or rarely, I don't see it as often. There are some people who are hypersomniac, meaning they sleep too much. Believe it or not, that's easier to address than the insomnia, meaning not getting enough sleep. And the types of insomnia vary considerably. And the reasons why people have trouble sleeping also vary considerably. My go-to is to start magnesium.
Love magnesium.
Great for the brain. It's great for the body. It basically is involved in 400 interactions in the body, or more. And so magnesium is a great thing to take. Again, please don't run out and start magnesium without, talking to your doctor. I would say that most people can tolerate magnesium pretty well. I tend to avoid it with people who have kidney problems. You don't want to be taking magnesium with kidneys. If you have a renal insufficiency, and you also don't want to take it if you're on certain medications, like lithium, magnesium, don't mix. And certainly if you have diarrhea, the magnesium is going to make that worse. So, but it's great for constipation. So, and it's great for anxiety and sleep, and just general well-being.
Linda asks where the program's located. It's about 45 minutes outside of Austin, Texas.
In La
Yes.
Vista.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a lake house outside of Austin. It's called Lago Vista. So it's front view of the lake. It's very relaxing, surrounded by nature, which really, really creates the perfect environment to overcome something, especially if it's chronic, meaning that it's been going on for years, that you have tried different approaches and you're needing like additional support, more of a hand holding and in-house clinical team. And also this 360 approach that covers, the body, the mind, the emotions, and even the spirit too. Because, in order for you to feel well, you need to feel like connected to life and, feel passionate about things and rediscover that part of yourself that depression takes away. So it's, yeah.
Meditation also has wonderfully measured outcomes. How do you introduce people to meditation? Some people have never ever succeeded at it because it's just always been something they didn't have time for, or they can never turn their thoughts off. What has been the effects of people going through your program for that?
We have an amazing team member in our program. His name is Chris Sirac, and he has over 20 years of experience in this. He even went to over 10 different trainings directly with Eckhart Tolle, the author of The Power of Now, and he has done more than 12 Vipassana 10-day silent retreats. And he starts very slowly, just with some mindfulness. Is just, at the beginning, if you can take 3 conscious breaths, that's a good start. That's enough. Because while you're doing that, the overthinking mind, at least for that moment, is stopping. And then he brings real hands-on practice for mindfulness practices that allows you to be in the moment. And because the mind usually keeps you, whether it's in the past, which is very common with depression, and then you're feeling, guilty, or you're feeling sad about something that happened, or in the future, which is very related to anxiety, just thinking about all these things that could happen. At the end of the day, less than 1% of those, if any, really happen. But while you're doing this, you're really taking away the only thing that is real, which is this very present moment right here, right now. So that's what he works around, and it starts. That's the beauty of having the 30 days. With just like with any other habit, we start with like baby drops, very small, and then as the group starts to get engaged, then we take it from there.
Beautiful. Yeah, nothing like the present moment for peace and calm and reality. Real reality. So who else would have a question? You can type it in the chat box. You can raise your hand. Just turn off your microphone. We'd love to see your smiling face as well if you'd like to turn your camera on. Any depression questions for this super program that's been created and showing remarkable results?
Yeah, while we're waiting for people to formulate their questions, in previous podcast interviews, someone did bring up when people are really depressed, they don't have a motivation to do things, so how do we get them motivated, to do it in the program? And, I think Sylvia is amazing because she's been there. She knows how it feels to not have the energy or the motivation, or even the hope to be able to do things. And so our program is very, it's formulated to address and be very kind and compassionate from that perspective. And so we know how to get people motivated. We know how to get people moving their bodies and coming to the table and looking at people around them and being involved in the group setting. Sometimes that can be a little scary, and even just starting to move out of this feeling of being unsafe. That's really tough for some people. So, yeah.
I imagine the support from the other participants also plays a rather large role, because when you're isolation seems to be a huge problem that people have, and feeling not understood, feeling not safe.
Yes.
And when you're around like-minded people with a similar orientation, and in a beautiful setting, I have to imagine that must be very healing.
Absolutely.
That helps a lot in the program, as well as when you're done with the program, because one of the things that it does is that it builds a new network of friends that completely understand what you're going through, what you went through with the program. And then after the program, those friendships continue. Like in my case, from residential programs, I've done probably, many of my closest friends come from there. And we also develop like an accountability partner in our program, for example, that you will, like, even after the 15 days, that will be, watching over and asking you, about the habits, how you're doing with this. And then you will be reporting to that person. That person will be reporting to you. And that, as small as it sounds, is extremely powerful. When you know that someone is going to ask you if you went out for that walk, that by itself is motivating to do it. So yeah, the social connection is very important, because isolation is one of the things that really, really affect people suffering from depression.
Mhm.
It would be amazing. I don't know if this is even doable or not, but if you had a Facebook group that other people could actually tune into that weren't able to attend live, and just be inspired by what they're going through, and see, oh my gosh, wow, if I do get on top of my diet, if I do get up and take a walk in the morning, if I do talk to other people that are similarly suffering, how that might motivate others to be able to incorporate
Absolutely.
stuff in their own life. That would be really exciting.
Absolutely. And there's people who are early adopters, and there's other people that are wait and seers. Right?
Yeah.
So when you have someone who jumps right in and does it, and then and these other people around them witness that, it's like, oh wow, I'm going to do it too, right? So the other thing that we notice is that when you're with a group of people who are healthy and learning to talk to each other and communicate with each other in a healthy fashion, they realize that the person at home or in their home environment, how toxic they really are. And they've gotten used to that. And then they realize that, hey, that's one of my root causes of depression. Right. And so part of the plan would be, okay, how are we going to, it's happened quite a bit with some of the other participants, is like, okay, how are we going to address that? So which takes courage, right? It takes courage about thinking about, wow, I really need to get this toxic person out of my life.
I actually, when I work with somebody, and I always tell them, look, I can't change other people. And if you're in a toxic relationship and you get healthy, either that relationship is going to have to up level, or it might end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay, because I've had people, drop toxic partners and go find healthy partners, and
Right.
much happier as a result of it.
Right. Yeah.
So
when you're in an environment, it's kind of hard to see, because you have nothing to compare to.
Mhm.
It's hard to see that you're in this toxic environment, and it is it's hard to connect that, oh wow, this is why I'm one of the reasons, I should say, that I'm depressed. Right. So you have to find all the root causes in order to address the depression. Is finding all the root causes in your brain, in your mind, emotionally, physically, and environmentally. One of the things that we didn't mention was mold. So we actually do mycotoxin testing, because some people are affected significantly by toxins. We talked about toxins in fish, heavy metals and stuff, but we actually test for mold, because it's really common to see mold at your home being in a mold environment, or having lived in a mold environment. You might not live in it now, but you have to have a treatment to unburden your body of these mold mycotoxins. And that's one of the things that we search for.
What kind of test is the mold test? A blood test? What kind of test is
It's a urine test.
Urine test. Okay, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that's okay, I would like to address a few questions in the chat.
Okay.
So someone is asking if we accept insurance. So insurance doesn't cover functional medicine, metabolic psychiatry, or lifestyle medicine. So therefore, it doesn't apply for this program. But the scholarships are very similar to what you would get with insurance, because for depression programs, the copay for insurance is very high. So so if you get one of the highest scholarships, it will be similar to full coverage from an insurance company regarding depression treatment. And someone else is asking that wishing the program was closer to home. The fact is that people travel from all over the country, even from Canada, and we have applicants from Puerto Rico too. And so it's not how close it is to your house, but how effective the treatments are. And, while doing some virtual experience is, could be helpful, the real transformation happens with the immersion, with, being there, doing the things every day, developing those habits, being consistent, and getting all these professionals to really look at you and treat all the possible root causes. So, but something online could be motivational, but it's more than that. The work cannot be done unless you are in person. So.
Yeah, you have to be on site, Linda, and it's a daily on site program. So it's just a matter of flying there, staying there for a month, and flying back or driving. I mean, you could drive.
Yeah, if that's the only blockage you have, I would definitely consider buying an airplane ticket.
Yeah. I never went to a program that was in my same city, like here in Austin. I always flew everywhere, even outside the country, in Asia, Europe. I try everything. So yeah, it is. If the program is good, the professionals are good, and you believe on the 360 approach, then it's worth it to take a look.
Right. And it's not necessary to be near your home. You're not going to need to go home. And we recommend that you let go of everything that is at home that might require your attention, and give it to another person. And that might sound hard for some people, but it's you're then putting all your eggs in one basket, taking care of you. And, you'll pleasantly find that I can actually do this for myself, and it kind of forces you to ask other people in your life to take over, or to find resources to take over during that period of time, so that you can put your oxygen mask on and get your life in order, so that you can then go back into that situation if you want to. It may not be a healthy situation, but if you want to, but you'll be in a better place to be able to handle everything. So sometimes people in our previous program struggled with that, but then they were pleasantly surprised about, wow, I don't really have to do it all, And so sometimes there are stories that we tell ourselves, I have to, or I should. And then they find, like, no, that's not really that's not really true, And so it helps you to explore the true reasons, and sort of shift your thinking about things, and then being able to relax. And it's like, wow, I can actually do other things. I don't have to do these things, right? So the whole thing is a journey. It really is. It's a complete transformation, including your thoughts and the stories that you tell yourselves. One of the things that we didn't mention is that we have a psychodrama program, 10 days of psychodrama, which is truly amazing. So Stacy is her name, the person who does the psychodrama. I don't know why I keep forgetting her last name. I think it's Johnson, Stacy Johnson, who does the psychodrama, and she's pretty amazing. So I know, Linda, you wrote, my husband may not be able to survive without me for a whole month. Lots of that, but I still think it would be worth the price of an airplane ticket. He will survive. I think it would be good for him too, to help him realize, like, wow, I actually can do some things for myself.
And as Dr. Achina says, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, because you're not you can't be of service and of help to anybody. As Lisa Nichols used to say, give from your overflow. So it's really important to get yourself up and functional so that you have overflow to give from.
Right. Right.
Darlene, yes.
Yeah, I would just say, I appreciate you guys taking the time for this. And someone like my son, like Sylvia, it's refreshing to see that you have a program that focuses on the root cause. Because from 17 to 24, my son has been in and out of rehab. He's been in and out of mental health facilities. And I kept saying, you're not focusing on what's depressing him. You're not focusing on why he has voices. And so I just wanted to comment that I just really like what I'm hearing with your program, that you're really getting to the root cause of what's causing the depression, and maybe what might be able to help him if he is able to go into such a program. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to just add to that, piggyback off of that, because one thing that you said earlier, and correct me if I'm wrong, that he had issues with alcohol and drugs, right?
Yes.
So yeah, what's really interesting is that, as you know, alcohol is a depressant, but sometimes people think that they have a problem with alcohol, but what it's really a problem with is candida. So, for example, if you've had a long history of taking antibiotics because of strep or ear infection, strep throat, repeated antibiotics, and having a high sugar diet, that can change the microbiome, and to use the garden analogy, and create a lot of weeds called candida, which is a yeast, right? And so candida loves alcohol. And I've had patients who have said, I want to quit. I really, really want to quit. I don't want to drink. It doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel worse, but there's something driving the desire to drink alcohol. And I have a drink, but it doesn't make me feel good. And it's feeding the candida. It's feeding the candida. So a lot of people don't realize is that cravings are not driven by the mind, the person's mind. It's driven by the gut microbiome. And so when we change the microbiome and make it more balanced, you literally start craving what the microbiome wants. They want vegetables. So we know just from what you're eating, what the microbiome, how it's set up, what it consists of. And so, so if people are eating high sugar diets, high carb diets, then we know it's not a good microbiome, especially if it's sugar processed and ultra processed food. So just by changing the diet within a week, you can change the microbiome. But some people have very stubborn microbiomes because candida can be over years, increased to where it becomes pathologic. It kind of digs its roots into the microbiome. And so it's really, it's important to look at the whole picture and address the microbiome over time and understand how to unroot candida. It's like a deep, deep root, like with you want to get those weeds out too. And that candida can be one of those kinds of deep roots in a bad garden.
And for those people that have firing and wiring that says, I have to have sugar because that's love, that's feel good, that's I'm okay, that's safe. I have had people who have been addicted to the sugar their whole life, and in a couple of sessions, they don't have those addictions anymore. Same thing with alcohol. So I love that you have a multidisciplinary approach and that you're looking at all the different angles, because having spent my whole life in Chinese medicine, we're always looking for the root cause of things, because if you treat the root, the problem actually goes away permanently.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys. I know, Achina, you have a hard stop at the top of the hour. You took an hour out from seeing your patients. Really appreciate that. Sylvia, thanks for coming on and giving your unique perspective, having gone through all those years of depression and formulating a solution for people to get healthy in a 45-day period of time.
Yes, thank you. So if any of this resonates with you, then book a call with us. It will be actually with myself or with Dr. Stein directly. It's free. You can book it on the website or at healingdepressionproject.com/call. That's another way to get there. If you want to listen to testimonials from previous participants, also go to our website. They're there if you need to get like in some inspiration. And again, we're taking applications now during December for March. So this is a perfect time to reach out, and scholarships are still available. So if any of this sounds like it could be a turning point for you, please reach out.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and even if you're on the fence, reach out. It's a free call, right? And you might need to just talk one-on-one with one of us, and to answer those questions, anything that comes up for you, we're happy to discuss on a deeper level to see if you're the right person. Certainly, please let everyone because everyone has family or friends who have depression, treatment-resistant depression. Let people know about this. I'm sure Dr. Tara will have a link available for replay. So that way they can watch it and learn more.
And the link is in the chat box, healingdepression.com /call.
Yeah, that's for the discovery call.
Perfect. All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much. It's been delightful having you here. I'm honored to know both of you. And actually, I do want to circle around back with you because I do have some tidbits of information that I think would be potentially helpful for your on-site program.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
And for those of you that don't have 45 days and think there might be something stuck in your subconscious mind that's forcing you into thoughts, ideas, and behaviors that you don't want, you can connect with me at consulttara.com. Because I've seen people get over all kinds of insomnia, anxiety, and other issues just by resolving that. But if depression's been haunting you, please take the energy, the time, the commitment to consider a destination event like this. That's proving to be helpful for people.
Yes. And people can find me at Functional Mind. That's my private practice in Rhode Island. And I have licenses in Rhode Island, Massachusetts. So if you're in the area and you feel that's something you'd like to do working with me, I'm happy to see you there too.
And Dr. Achina can also be found on What If It's Not Depression? That's a popular podcast. And of course, my podcast, Next Level Healing. You can hear more about what's going on here. And this will be on Next Level Healing coming up in the next few weeks.
Great. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for having us. And thank you for everybody that joined.
This podcast is intended for the purpose of providing information and education. It does not provide advice and is not meant to be used for any self-diagnosis or the replacement of any kind of licensed professional. The creators and individuals appearing here do not endorse any specific tests, positions, medications, products, or procedures. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.